Hello friends, welcome to the third lecture of the capacitance. Today we are going to see different type of the capacitors and the capacity or how much amount of the charge they can store. So the first type of the capacitor that we are going to see today is a parallel plate capacitor. So let us say a question is asked in the exam that what is a parallel plate capacitor? Derive an equation to find its capacity to store the charge. Then what will you do? So for that we'll draw one parallel. First we write down the considerations, right? What do we consider? Consider a parallel plates of area of cross section A, take it capital A, separated by distance D. Let air be filled between them. Right? So air is filled between them. So as per this consideration, if we draw one arrangement, it will resemble like this. So these are the two parallel plates. Area of cross section is A. Distance between them is D, and the air is filled between them. So air has a dielectric constant epsilon naught. We already discussed what is a dielectric constant. Now for this, what will be the electric field between the plates? Electric field will be given by sigma by epsilon naught. We have already seen, right? If one of the plate is given positive charge, right, automatically the negative charge appears. Another plate is obviously earned from the other side, right? So the electric field is given by sigma by epsilon naught. Now if we furthermore evaluate this equation, sigma is charge per unit area, right? What will be the potential between them? So potential is given by electric field into the distance between them. So it will be Q A epsilon naught into D. Now rearranging this equation, making Q is a subject, right, V. And now if we compare with Q is equals to CV, we get C is equals to epsilon naught A by D. This is the capacity of a parallel plate capacitor. So this much amount of the charge, right, this is the capacity of storing a charge of this parallel plate capacitor. Now let us see its variation. What is its variation? That if air is replaced by material Y, and this Y material has material Y, and Y has dielectric constant epsilon, right? In this, instead of epsilon naught, if I fill material, some material Y which has a dielectric constant epsilon, then what will be its new capacity? Then its new capacity will be, new capacity is, let us say it is C dash, so it will be epsilon A by D, right? Now we know that this concept you should remember, that epsilon by epsilon naught, this is called as a relative electrical permittivity or a dielectric constant. I write down in words, this is relative electrical permittivity, or it is also called as a dielectric constant, right? So this ratio, from this ratio I can replace the value of epsilon naught, epsilon as epsilon naught, epsilon r, right? Or I can also write it as epsilon naught into k. I prefer to use k rather than this er, because epsilon, so I prefer to use k. So epsilon can be replaced as epsilon naught into k, right? Generally the substance, their permittivity is compared with the air to obtain relative permittivity. This relative permittivity help us to do comparison. What type of a comparison? Let us see that. So now if we substitute permittivity in terms of relative permittivity or a dielectric constant, we can say that it is K times epsilon naught A by D. This is nothing but capacity of original capacitor. So new capacity will become K times the original capacitor. So that is the reason why we make use of this ratio. This ratio helps us to compare that the new capacity will become K times the original capacitor. What do we conclude? That instead of air if some material gamma is introduced which has a dielectric constant which has permittivity epsilon, which has permittivity epsilon, right? Then what will happen to the capacitance? The capacitance will increase by k times as compared to the original capacitor. Then after the parallel plate capacitor, we have a spherical capacitor. So what is a spherical capacitor? In case of the spherical capacitor, also similar type of the identical arrangement we have, right? We have a sphere of some radius Ra, right? It has been given charge, positive charge. To increase its capacity, we add another sphere, another surrounding sphere of the radius Rb, and this sphere is earth from the outside, right? So now this interior of the sphere will have negative charges, correct? Electric field outside is 0, electric field in this interior is also 0. This you must think and reason out for yourself, that why electric field inside is 0, why electric field outside is 0. We have already discussed in the first lecture about the properties of a conductor in an electric field. So go to that lecture, recollect those concepts and answer it out, that why here electric field is 0, why here electric field is 0. Coming back to our derivation, what will be the potential difference? What will be the potential difference on the A? Potential difference on the A will be, so potential difference on the A will be K Q by R, right? What will be the potential difference on the B? Potential difference on the B is 0. The reason is it is earth. When it is earth, it cannot have any charge, and when it cannot have any charge, when charge is 0, potential will also be 0. So potential of this conductor is 0. Now finding out the potential difference, right? For finding out the potential difference, it will be potential of the A will be KQ by RA, right? This is only due to positive, and it will be decreased by this negative charge. So KQ by decreased by this negative charge RB. Whatever is the positive charge, equal amount of the negative charges are induced here. So potential on the A will be due to the charge on itself, right? And the potential due to this negative charges. The potential between them. So potential between them will be VB minus VA, right? Substituting the values, VA minus B, VA minus B. So substituting the values, potential difference for this, if we substitute the values, it will be K common, Q common, 1 upon RA minus 1 upon RB. This one if we simplify, it is Q is equals to, if we rearrange, Q will be equal to RA RB, right, upon RB minus RA. This multiplication has gone inside. I have simplified this in one single step. If you have not understood this algebraic simplification, do it yourself. So Q is equals to resistance, and the value of the K will be 4 pi epsilon naught into V, right? So Q is as it is, K and this whole term is shifted on the left hand side. Now on comparing with Q is equals to CV, C is equals to RA RB, RB minus RA 4 pi epsilon naught. This is the capacity of spherical capacitor, right? Spherical capacitor, it has an air between the two spheres. Instead of air, if you replace with some material gamma having permittivity epsilon naught, what will happen to the capacitance? Same conclusion, it will increase K times. The next type of the capacitor that we are going to discuss is cylindrical capacitor. Cylindrical capacitor. Now, cylindrical capacitor, if I draw it, cylindrical capacitor, it has two coaxial cylinders. So if I draw, this is the one cylinder, right? And there is another cylinder. These are the two coaxial cylinders. So these are the two coaxial cylinders having the length L, right? The radius of this first cylinder is RA and radius of this outer cylinder is RB. Now I have to calculate electric field between them, right? Let us say I want to calculate electric field at this point. Then what do? I draw one Gaussian surface. I will apply Gauss law to calculate electric field in between them, right? I draw one Gaussian surface. That Gaussian surface will again be a cylindrical in shape, right? Let the point P be located at a distance R. So I have drawn this Gaussian surface, right? And what will be the electric field? What will be the flux at this point? Or what will be the electric field? If I start simplifying, right, applying Gauss law, surface integral of E dot ds is 1 upon epsilon times. What is the charge enclosed? Let us say this interior of the cylinder, it is given charge Q, which is uniformly spread throughout. So that is the charge is given. So applying this formula, electric field will be, what is the surface area? What is the area of this Gaussian surface? It is 2 pi RL. So that is Q by epsilon naught. So electric field is Q by epsilon naught 2 pi RL. Right? This is the electric field in between the conductors. What will be the potential difference? Now if this distance is slightly increased by the dr, what will be the potential difference? If I slightly increase this Gaussian surface, right, to a small distance dr, if this Gaussian surface is slightly increased by small distance dr, what will be the potential? So the potential will be given by E dot dr. Potential will be given by small amount of the increase in potential will be given by E dot dr. Total increase in potential if the distance is increased from RA to RB. So distance is increased from RA to RB. dV is RA to RB. E dot dr. Since electric field is radially outward, distance is also outward, this dot product will be cos 0. So this one, if I simplify, electric field, its value is Q upon 2 pi epsilon naught L. R will be inside the integration, right? Dot product cos theta is 0. So now this one, if we simplify, it is Q by 2 pi epsilon naught L. 1 upon R is log R. This is a natural log. Upper limit, lower limit. So V is equals to Q upon 2 pi epsilon naught L log upper limit minus lower limit. This will result into this. Now if I rearrange, Q is equals to 2 pi epsilon naught L upon log RB minus RA dot V. So on comparing with Q is equals to CV, the value of C I obtained as 2 pi epsilon naught L log RB upon RA. So E it is. This is E. So this is the capacity of a cylindrical capacitor. So this derivation has application of the Gauss law. Can we apply Gauss law here? Can we derive this using a Gauss law? Yes, you can. But here the potential difference is calculated directly. It is simpler. Here it cannot be calculated directly. It is not as simple. Here it was a spherical one. It is a cylindrical one. Right? We have two different surfaces. One is round surface. Other one is circular surfaces. So because of the two different type of the surface involved, we have to apply the Gauss law. Here only one type of the surface is involved, that is spherical. So here without Gauss law also the derivation takes place. So these are the three different type of the capacitors and their equations. Then the next topic that we have is combination of capacitors. What is combination of capacitors? Combination of capacitors means the capacitors, how they are connected among one another, right? Capacitor is symbol of the capacitor is this, right? This is the symbol of the capacitor. So combination of capacitors, first let us see the series combination. So if the various capacitors they are connected in the series, then what will be the resultant capacitance? So let us see that. So this, I'll take three different capacitors having capacities C1, C2 and C3. and these capacitors, they are connected to the battery of potential V volt, right? Now as they are connected in the series across each capacitor, let us say potential drop is V1, V2 and V3. So ultimately I can write down that V is equals to V1 plus V2 plus V3. Now we know the equation of the capacitor, that is Q is equals to CV. So V can be replaced by Q upon C, Q upon C1, Q upon C2, Q upon C3. Now here one thing is to notice is that this is a series combination, right? Now due to this positive terminal, let's say some positive charge is accumulated here. Similar type of the negative charge will be accumulated here. Same amount of positive charge will be accumulated here. Same amount of negative charge is accumulated here. Same amount of positive charge is accumulated on this plate and same amount of negative charge on this plate. So each and every plate, they have a same amount of the charge. So each capacitor has a same charge. So ultimately 1 upon C is equals to 1 upon C1 plus 1 upon C2 plus 1 upon C3. This is the net capacitance when the capacitors are connected in the series. Similarly, let us see what is the net capacitance when the capacitors are connected in the parallel. So parallel combination of capacitors. When capacitors are connected parallelly, the diagram will look 1, 2 and I will take 3 capacitors which are connected in the parallel, right, and they are connected to the source of potential difference V volt. Now when they are connected in the parallel, again the thing to notice is that everyone will have same potential difference. Capacitors have their capacity C1, C2 and C3, and since they are connected in parallel, charges on them will be different. Charges on them will be different. The charge will flow from here. Now the charge has option to go there. Whichever has a larger capacity, the charge will be more in those capacitors. So in parallel combination, charges are different. Now for this parallel combination, I can apply that the total charge Q is equals to Q1 plus Q2 plus Q3. Again, using the equation of the capacitor, Q is equals to CV, I can substitute Q as CV, Q1 as C1V, Q2 as C2V, because Q2, the second capacitor, how much charge Q2, and this relation will be Q2 is C2V, so Q2 is C2V. Similarly for the first capacitor, Q1 is C1V, and similarly for the third capacitor, that Q3 is C3 into V. So C is equals to C1 plus C2 plus C3. This is the capacitance when the capacitors are connected in the parallel. Next we have is energy stored in the capacitor. What is the energy stored in the capacitor? So let us say I have been given a parallel plate capacitor which is connected to the source of potential V, right? It is having some charge Q on it and its capacity is C. Now if I give some more amount of charge to this capacitor, let's say some dq amount of charge I am giving to this capacitor, then what is the work done? The small amount of the work done in giving the small amount of the charge dq to this capacitor is potential into charge, right? What will be the total work done in giving the charge 0 to Q? I want to give total Q amount of charge. So what will be the total work done? Total work done will be, now if you simplify, the V can be replaced as Q by C, right? Q by C. Let us simplify, 1 upon C common. So Q, its integration will be Q square by 2, 0 to Q. This one if you simplify it is 1 upon C, Q square by 2. So this work done appears in the form of potential energy of the capacitor. So this is the equation of the potential energy or energy stored in the capacitor, Q square by 2C. This equation can also be written as, if you substitute Q is equals to CV in the numerator, if you substitute value of Q, then it can be half CV square. This is the potential energy. Now in the denominator, if you substitute value of C, then what it will be? Q square by V square. So Q square cancel. I did some mistake. if we substitute the value of C in the denominator, it will be Q square by the value of C. C can be substituted as Q by V. So Q gets cancelled. So U is equals to half QV. This is one more formula for the energy stored in the capacitor. Then the next topic that we have is energy density of parallel plate capacitor. Right? We can also find energy density for various different types of the capacitors, but let us talk about the parallel plate capacitor. Energy density is denoted by the capital U. Right? It is defined as energy per unit volume. What is the energy? I will use this formula, that is half CV square. Right? And what is the volume? Volume is area of the plates and the distance between them. If I substitute the value of C for parallel plate capacitor, I know that C is epsilon naught A by D. If I substitute that value, this is potential square area into D. So D remains, dA gets cancelled, that is half epsilon naught V square by D square. Now again here I can substitute that E is equals to potential difference upon distance. So this one will be energy density is given by half epsilon naught E square. This is the formula for energy density of a parallel plate capacitor.